Okay, so time for number 2 of my paranormal experiences. So this one happened when I was 5, and we lived in a, at least I think I was 5, but we lived in an apartment complex up in Northern Cal and Carmichael, California. It was kind of a low income um, apartment complex, and it's also 1:55 in the morning right now. My husband's asleep, but he sleeps through anything, so it doesn't really matter how loud I talk. But so when I was a kid, we lived in this apartment complex. I'm just going to get to the nitty gritty. I would see things when we lived there. I had a pretty tough childhood. My dad left when I was 3, technically. I mean, he had an affair on my mom, and she decided, okay, that's not good to have around my kids. And then he started getting into drugs and started getting involved in all kinds of weird stuff. So it's kind of like not really the best thing to have around small children. So, I was missing my father. I just wanted my dad to be around, but he didn't want to be a dad. He didn't want to be around. So, that's just how it was. But when we moved into this apartment complex, we were actually on the run from my dad. He had been making threats to my mom, saying that he wanted to kill her, kill us, and I think that kind of opened a doorway into some evil stuff in our lives. I don't know for sure, but I'm kind of a skeptic on this stuff, but I do believe in what I saw. So we'd been living there for a couple months. My brother had already started going to school. He started first grade. I was in kindergarten. My mom was teaching me stuff at home. So I was mainly at home with her most days. And I just remember we had a very large living room for an apartment. We had a large kitchen. There was one large bedroom, and there was a kind of smaller bedroom. And then we had our bathroom. And it was a really long bathroom. And I would see shadow figures walking in the hallway. And the hallway was small. It wasn't a big hallway. So to see that as a kid, it was kind of like, and I would see stuff out of the corner of my eye, like, what is that? And I would go and check in the hallway, to see what it was. Nothing there. There was never anything there. So I had a big problem with being separated from my mom. I didn't like to sleep on my own. I didn't like having my own bed. I just wanted to sleep in bed with her at night, because at night, that's when I would see things. I remember as a kid being in that apartment complex, being in my bed at night, and my brother would be asleep, and I didn't like looking in this one corner of my bedroom. It was always really dark in that corner of my bedroom, and it looked like something was moving in that corner, and there was never anything in that corner. We didn't have a ton of furniture. We didn't have a ton of toys, and we were always expected to put our toys away at night, and we didn't have, like, clothes hanging out. All of our clothes were hanging up in our closet or folded away and put away. So I didn't like looking in that corner, and I slept closer to that scary corner. And there were nights, like, I would wake up and I would see these weird-looking demonic faces floating around on the ceiling. And it would really, really scare me. And I would want to get up. I would run to my mom's room, and there were nights she would lock the door on me because she wanted me to learn to sleep on my own, which is normal. Most parents want their kids to be independent, not codependent on them for everything. But there were some nights she would let me come and sleep with her. So one night I woke up, I was scared, and I remember going into her bed, and her door was open that night, so I was like, okay, free reign, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to sleep. So I tried to be quiet because I knew if I woke her up, she might make me go back to my bed or she might let me stay. So I crawled to the bottom of the bed and I fell asleep next to her feet. And I kind of crawled underneath the blankets too and made a little cozy spot for me to sleep. So I remember just feeling afraid, feeling absolutely petrified and scared. And I remember waking up and just being like frozen to the bed in fear. And I look to the doorway and there's this light shining, like the light from the hallway was shining into my mom's room. And at the bottom of the door, I see this small figure, like a small child or a person is standing in the doorway. And I remember just being horrified because this thing that's in the doorway keeps poking its body in and out of the bedroom. And when it pokes its head and its body into the bedroom, it disappears into the dark of the bedroom. But then when it pulls itself back, it's standing there. And I can see it's all black and no distinctive features, nothing, just blackness. And I think back now, and I think, was I experiencing sleep paralysis as a child? Was I seeing things? But I remembered back, I reached up with my right hand to see if my mom was awake, to see if maybe it was Travis. And I remember calling to my brother, Travis, and then this thing moved even farther into the room and then disappeared and went back to where it was standing. It kept going back and forth, going into the room and then standing back where it started. So I reached up with my little hand and I felt my mom. She was still there in bed. And then I felt a foot right next to my mom. And I reached over and I touched the leg of my brother. So it was not my brother who was in the doorway, and it was not my mom. And there was only 3 of us that lived in that house. And there was only 3 of us who it could have been. And I remember just staring at this thing that was standing in the doorway and just feeling all of the hair on my body. And I can feel it now. All the hair on my body is standing on end. And I feel that fear as a child. But I know now as an adult, this was probably a spirit of some kind, an entity of some kind. But I laid there for the longest time. It felt like forever, just staring at this thing going in and out of the bedroom, looking and looking and looking. And I talked to my mom about it, and she asked me, do you think maybe it could have been your dad? And I was like, no, there's no way, Mom, that this was my dad. This was like the body of his small person or a child. There's no way. And my mom, when we had moved in there, she bought a padlock for our door because my brother was a sleepwalker. And that's part of the reason too why I thought that it was my brother poking in and out of the bedroom. But it wasn't. It was something else. I don't know what it was. But I just remember laying there being scared and falling asleep. Because there was nothing else I could do. I couldn't scream. I couldn't make really any sound. After I called for my brother, it was like... And then when I touched his leg and realized that he was sleeping next to my mom, there was nothing I could do at that point. So I remember the next morning, my mom was up first, and then my brother and I got up. And I just remember trying to go through that doorway and just being so scared that I ran through it. But, yeah, that apartment complex, we saw a lot of really weird stuff. So that's my story, and I'll try and elaborate more in the future, but I'm running out of memory, so see you all next time. Bye.